Welcome to St. Lucie Public Schools training on ethics and professionalism in the workplace, presented by Aaron Clements, the Director of Employee Relations. This course serves as a first-time training tool and a refresher for all employees, whether new to the district or for seasoned veterans. Ethics, as defined by Webster's New Collegiate Dictionary, is a major branch of philosophy that involves analysis of right and wrong conduct. It has also been described as a discipline that deals with duties and obligations to others. As educators and employees of St. Lucie Public Schools, you are held to a higher moral standard both professionally and personally because of your role in educating children. This course will provide you with guidance on the district's expectations regarding ethics and professionalism of all employees. We will go over policies and procedures so that you can stay informed as an employee. The mission of St. Lucie Public Schools is to ensure all students graduate from safe and caring schools, equipped with the knowledge, skills, and desire to succeed. Ethics and professionalism of all district employees is fundamentally necessary for students to graduate from safe and caring schools, as stated in the mission statement. Even at times when students are having a bad day and may not be showing the most respect for you as an employee of the district employees must remain the adults. Even though at times it may not appear so, students look up to and trust that the employees of St. Lucie Public Schools will treat them with respect, even when they may be misbehaving. Session objectives. This course offers an overview of the Florida Department of Education's Principles of Professional Conduct to which every employee in St. Lucie Public Schools is held to. We will also discuss the following topics: arrests, that St. Lucie Public Schools is an alcohol and drug-free workplace, technology, bullying and harassment, and reporting misconduct. Adams and Tomerlin cases. This court decision is based on a 1979 case in Lee County, Florida. This case has helped found ethics in education. There were two police officers who were in pursuit of suspects in the area. While chasing the suspects, they came into a neighborhood and were chasing the suspects into the backyard of homes. They crossed a fence and saw two figures in a greenhouse. When the officers entered the greenhouse, they found two individuals who were not the suspects and 50 marijuana plants. Of course, these two individuals were arrested. Upon arrest, the arrest docket lists their place of employment. It was discovered that they were teachers in Lee County. The media had a field day with the story. These teachers faced criminal charges, were terminated from employment in Lee County School District, and had their teaching certificate revoked by the Department of Education. DOE cited that they were guilty of acts involving moral turpitude, and as a result of their actions, their effectiveness in the Lee County school system was seriously impaired, and they failed to provide leadership and direction for others by appropriate example. These teachers appealed DOE's decision, and the First District Court of Appeals denied their appeal. The court stated that the moral standard to be upheld by teachers is different, since teachers are charged with providing leadership and maintaining effectiveness in their role as teachers. By virtue of leadership capacity, teachers are held to a higher standard in the community. Our students are entrusted to school district employees for 7 to 8 hours a day. You are the loco parentis or the parent while the student is in your care, and that is why you are held to a higher moral standard. The Principles of Professional Conduct for the Education Profession in Florida addresses professional attitudes and concerns and ethical conduct towards students, the public, and the profession of education. A teacher who is found to have violated any part of the Principles of Professional Conduct is subject to having his or her license sanctioned by the Education Practices Commission. However, St. Lucie Public Schools adopts the Principles of Professional Conduct for all employees, and all employees are held to these standards. As a representative of the school and district, employees must demonstrate and uphold standards of ethical conduct both inside and outside of the classroom. As a public employee and a role model to students, colleagues, and parents, employees of St. Lucie Public Schools have a duty at all times to abide by the Principles of Professional Conduct. Therefore, the term educator in the Principles of Professional Conduct is referring to all employees in the district. The Principles of Professional Conduct provides 3 ethical principles listed below. First, the educator values the worth and dignity of every person, the pursuit of truth, devotion to excellence, acquisition to knowledge, and the nurture of democratic citizenship. Essential to the achievement of these standards are the freedom to learn and to teach and to guarantee equal opportunity for all. Every person includes all stakeholders such as students, parents, colleagues, vendors, and the community. Second, the educator's primary professional concern will always be for the student and for the development of the student's potential. The educator will therefore strive for professional growth and will seek to exercise the best professional judgment and integrity. Third, aware of the importance of maintaining the respect and confidence of one's colleagues, of students, of parents, and other members of the community, the educator strives to achieve and sustain the highest degree of ethical conduct. As public employees of St. Lucie Public Schools, we are held to a higher standard than those in the private sector. Choices we make in our personal lives can impact our careers and our professional reputation. The Principles of Professional Conduct have 3 sections which St. Lucie Public Schools employees are held to: obligation to the student, obligation to the public, and obligation to the profession. In this section, we will discuss these 3 principles in further detail. However, before we go into more detail on the Principles of Professional Conduct, please watch this short video on how not to communicate with students.
Stop whining. Your kids are soft. You lack discipline. But I've got news for you. You are mine now. You belong to me. You're not gonna have your mommy stand behind you anymore and wipe your little tushes. Oh no, it's time now to turn this mush into muscles. No more complaining, no more Mr. Kimball have to go to the bathroom, nothing. There is no bathroom.
Obligation to the students. Employees must create an environment that promotes and nurtures learning and a place where students are free from harmful conditions. Educators must work to protect students from mental and physical injury. Touching students is not necessarily prohibited. Elementary age students especially tend to give hugs and show affection. Contact with students is permitted. However, employees should not touch students inappropriately, aggressively, or sexually. It is best to limit physical contact with students to high fives, handshakes, and fist bumps, unless an employee is touching a student in order to protect themselves or others. The principles related to obligation to the student are as follows. Obligation to the student requires that the individual shall make a reasonable effort to protect a student from conditions harmful to learning and or a student's mental and or physical health and or safety. Shall not unreasonably restrain a student from independent action in pursuit of learning. Shall not unreasonably deny a student's access to diverse points of view. Shall not intentionally suppress or distort subject matter relevant to a student's academic program. Shall not intentionally expose a student to unnecessary embarrassment or disparagement. Shall not intentionally violate or deny a student's legal rights. Shall not harass or discriminate against any student on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, age, national or ethnic origin, political beliefs, marital status, handicapping condition, sexual orientation, or social and family background, and shall make reasonable effort to assure that each student is protected from harassment or discrimination. Shall not exploit a relationship with a student for personal gain or advantage. Shall keep in confidence personally identifiable information obtained in the course of professional service, unless disclosure serves professional purposes or is required by law. The 3 things from this section which cause employees to receive progressive discipline most often are touching students aggressively, making inappropriate comments to students, and making embarrassing and disparaging comments towards students. Students will say things to employees and even act out aggressively toward employees. However, remember that you are the adult and you must keep a level head when dealing with students. Managing emotions. Working with students is a rewarding career, yet it can, on occasion, be emotionally demanding. Employees sometimes find themselves in difficult circumstances where they must interact and de-escalate unruly students. Therefore, it is imperative that employees know how to manage their emotions in order to maintain control in these situations and the classroom at all times. Avoiding taking a student's behavior personally and do not hold grudges. Students sometimes act out in inappropriate ways because they are experiencing difficult issues at home or school. Becoming angry and visibly upset only intensifies a conflict and can cause the student to act out further. An employee's best teaching tool is their modeling. By handling conflict consistently and effectively, they are clarifying their expectations and promoting positive behavior. More often than not, when employees engage in verbal or physical altercations with students, it is a result of the employee not de-escalating the situation. Relationships with students. School board policy states employees are prohibited from dating or agreeing to date any student enrolled in the K through 12 program of the district. Violation of this policy shall constitute gross insubordination and misconduct in office, and shall be grounds for dismissal. Inappropriate relationships are not always sexual in nature and include, but are not limited to, exploiting a student for personal gain, having a relationship that is harmful to a student's mental or physical well-being, and any other relationship that violates any provision listed in the Principles of Professional Conduct for the Education Profession in Florida. Recently, offenses against students by authority figures was amended in the Florida state statutes. Now, the statute defines authority figure as a person 18 years of age or older who is employed by, volunteering at, or under contract with a school, including school resource officers. Prior to this legislation, a 23-year-old school district employee could have had a relationship with a 17-year-old student, and it would not have been deemed criminal. If it was proven, the employee would have lost their job, and if a teacher, they may have lost their teaching license. However, it was not a criminal offense. Now, ages do not matter when school district employees engage in romantic relationship with students. It is now a second-degree felony for a school district employee to have a romantic relationship with a student. In addition, employees shall not have conversations of a sexual nature with students outside of the information that is part of the approved curriculum or counseling programs. The possible results for employees who date or agree to date any student in St. Lucie Public Schools are subject to dismissal, criminal prosecution, and loss of their educator certificate if they are a certified educator. Employees must keep all information regarding students' educational and medical records confidential as per HIPAA and FERPA. All information related to students should only be discussed with the appropriate individuals such as parents or guardians, school administrators, school counselors, or a school nurse. Discussions should take place in a private area at the school away from others who are not part of the student's academic success. Employees should never discuss student information with the parent of another child. Additionally, even though a district employee may have access to confidential student information, for example, address, phone number, parent or sibling names, and or IEP or 504 information, employees are prohibited from disclosing that confidential information with anyone outside of the district-approved personnel. All questions regarding what an employee can disclose and to whom should be discussed with the employee's supervisor or district administration. School board policy states any individual found to have violated the legitimate educational interest requirement when accessing student records shall be subject to the imposition of restrictions upon or the withdrawal of permission for such access. Any such violation by a board employee shall also be subject to the appropriate discipline. Obligation to the public. The next section of the Principles of Professional Conduct is the obligation of the public. Number 1 is, shall take reasonable precaution to distinguish between personal views and those of an educational institution or organization in which the individual is affiliated. An example of this would be making a statement via social media or another platform that can be viewed by the public, When doing so, you should not state where you work so that your statements are not viewed as opinions of the school district. Number 2, shall not intentionally distort or misrepresent facts concerning an educational matter in indirect or direct public expression. You must make sure that when you are discussing district-related business with the public that you are not misrepresenting or falsifying the information. Number 3 is, shall not use institutional privileges for personal gain or advantage. Examples would be selling or pawning school equipment that was provided to you by the district, or using monies collected for school fundraisers for personal use. Additionally, school board policy states, no teacher shall receive compensation for tutoring a student who is enrolled in the teacher's class during the regular school term. Please discuss any tutoring of St. Lucie Public School students with your administrator. Number 4 is, shall accept no gratuity, gift, or favor that might influence professional judgment. An example would be accepting gifts from a student or their parents that might cause you to give that student special treatment over other students. Number 5 is, shall offer no gratuity, gift, or favor to obtain special advantages. An example would be offering special treatment such as better grades to a student whose parents owns a car lot so that you as the employee may get a special discount on a vehicle. The next section is obligation to the profession. Employees are held to a higher standard and must demonstrate and uphold standards of ethical conduct both inside and outside of the classroom. Employees must treat students, parents, and colleagues with respect. The district has seen 4 common problem areas under this obligation. Honesty. You are required to be honest in all professional dealings, period. An example is if your supervisor or district administrator asks about something that occurred on school board property and you are not honest. Leave without pay. This usually happens when an employee has exhausted all of his or her leave time. Make sure you have accrued enough leave time before you take leave. All district employees can check leave balances in Skyward. Additionally, your leave must be approved in advance unless you're using sick leave. School board policy states that employees should notify their supervisor as soon as possible. Malicious and false statements. You must refrain from making malicious and false statements. Do not spread false statements or rumors about another colleague. Gossip can be harmful to others and to the workplace overall. Respect and be fair to your colleagues. Do not submit fraudulent information on any document used in the course of an employee's job duties. Falsifying documents can cause your supervisor and the district to lose trust in your ability for you to perform your job duties. Other important topics. In the next sections, we will discuss arrests, the school district's alcohol and drug-free workplace policy, technology, bullying and harassment, and reporting misconduct, including reporting to the Florida Department of Children and Families. Arrests. As a district, we hope none of our employees are arrested. However, if you are arrested, school board policy requires that you report your arrest to the superintendent within 48 hours. However, the superintendent has designated myself, the Director of Employee Relations, to process and handle all arrests by employees. Therefore, please make sure your arrest is reported to the Office of Employee Relations within 48 hours. If you tell your supervisor, please make sure your supervisor contacts the Office of Employee Relations with the information. Arrests include any criminal charges. You may be charged with a criminal offense and not go to jail. You are still required to report the charge. You are not required to report minor traffic violations unless they are a criminal traffic offense. The purpose of making the district aware of your arrest is not to place blame on an employee, but to make sure the arrest does not cause the district concern for the employee's ability to be around students or to perform their job duties. Unless for certain serious felony offenses and for offenses that involve children, employees are usually allowed to perform their job duties while the arrest is tracked through the legal system. Reporting an arrest is not an admission of guilt and cannot be used as one in the court of law. Employees must also self-report any conviction, finding of guilt, withholding of adjudication, commitment to pretrial diversion program, or entering of a plea of guilty or nolo contendere for a criminal offense other than a minor traffic violation. You must report it within 48 hours of the final judgment. Again, this must be reported to the Office of Employee Relations. Alcohol and drug-free workplace. School Board Policy 6.59 states, "It is the intent of the school board that work environments be free of the presence of illegal drugs and alcohol. Therefore, employees are prohibited from possessing, using, manufacturing, dispensing, distributing, or being under the influence of illegal drugs or alcohol while on duty." It additionally states any employee who is found possessing, using, manufacturing, dispensing, or distributing illegal drugs or alcohol while on duty will be discharged. School district employees are only subject to random drug and alcohol testing if they hold a CDL license or have been previously disciplined for being under the influence of alcohol or drugs while at work. However, if an employee is suspected of being under the influence of alcohol and or drugs while at work, they will report to Employee Relations and be sent for alcohol and drug testing. If an employee refuses to submit to an alcohol or drug test, School Board Policy states it shall result in the employee's discharge from employment. So if you have been out drinking for several hours and only get a few hours of sleep when you report to work, you will report to work intoxicated and you will appear to be intoxicated. It takes several hours of sleep to sober up from a long night of drinking. It is not worth it. Please call in sick. Obviously, never use illegal drugs while you are an employee of St. Lucie Public Schools. School district administration does not need to determine whether it is alcohol or drugs that you are under the influence of. All they have to do is suspect that you are under the influence of something, and you will be tested for both alcohol and drugs. Technology. When communicating with students, parents, or guardians, and colleagues electronically, use caution and good judgment. Any information related to students, parents, and colleagues shall be professional in nature and related to school business. If communicating via text is necessary for your job, such as a coach, please use district-authorized apps and methods for communicating with students. Acceptable use policy. Employees must adhere to the acceptable use policies created by the district. The following rules have been created to address frequent problem areas. Do not access pornography or other inappropriate materials on district computers, whether you're at school property or elsewhere. If you accidentally click on an inappropriate site or image, quickly exit out of it and notify your supervisor that you accidentally clicked on something that may be deemed as inappropriate. However, the ITS department, as well as the Employee Relations Department, realizes that sites can be reached accidentally, and it matters how long you were on the site and whether you were clicking around on the site. Next, do not sell or pawn district property. The district does do an inventory and will discover that the items are missing. The information will be handed over to law enforcement. Do not allow students to use your credentials to sign into your computer and or computers that they are not authorized to be on. They could potentially access inappropriate material using a teacher's or another employee's credentials. They must use their login information only. Email. Employees should not use their email for personal matters. District email is public record. All communication must be appropriate and professional. Employees should not participate in chain emails or other inappropriate exchanges. Keep account passwords confidential. Users are ultimately responsible for activity that occurs under their account and their assigned equipment. Social media. Please ensure that personal social media accounts are set to private. Do not friend or accept friend requests from students. If your social media posts possess profane, insensitive, or offensive language or images that the public can see, it may hurt your effectiveness as a school district employee. As a reminder, you may not post photographs or identifying information about your students. It is a violation of FERPA. Bullying and harassment. Bullying includes cyberbullying and means systematically and chronically inflicting physical hurt or psychological distress on one or more students or employees. Bullying and harassment may involve, but is not limited to, teasing, social exclusion, threat, intimidation, stalking, physical violence, theft, harassment based on protected characteristics, public humiliation, and destruction of property. Harassment means any threatening, insulting, or dehumanizing gesture, use of data or computer software, or written or oral statement or physical conduct, including a single act of sufficiently severe conduct directed against a student or school employee. If a student reports information to you that makes you believe that they have been bullied by another student, please report it to your supervisor. If you have been bullied or harassed by another employee, please also report that to your supervisor. If you feel your supervisor is bullying you or harassing you, you may contact me or a human resources administrator who will get the information to me. Bullying and harassment, as stated above, is not disagreeing with another employee. It is repeated behavior over a period of time. If your supervisor is telling you to do something, and even if they are becoming firm with telling you to do something because you are refusing to do it, that is not considered bullying or harassment. Sexual harassment. Sexual harassment and other forms of illegal harassment toward a student, colleague, volunteer, or visitor are forbidden and will not be tolerated. Sexual harassment is defined as unwanted sexual or gender-based speech or behavior. It includes unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical harassment of a sexual nature. It also includes offensive remarks made about a person's sex. Sexual harassment can occur between a woman and a man, two women, or two men. The harasser can be the victim's supervisor, a supervisor from another area, a coworker, or someone who is not an employee of the employer, such as a client or a customer. The EEOC has stated harassment is illegal when it is frequent or severe, that it creates a hostile or offensive work environment, or when it results in an adverse employment decision, such as the victim being fired or demoted. Teasing, offhanded remarks, and isolated incidents that are not very serious may not be prohibited by law, but may be a violation of the district's policies and procedures. Behaviors that interfere with work performance or create an intimidating, hostile, or offensive work environment are considered harassment. Do not harass students. Respect their differences. What you intend as humor may in fact be cultural bias or harassment. In regards to an employee-on-employee sexual harassment, it must be severe or repeated. However, feel free to notify your supervisor or district staff of something that makes you feel uncomfortable. If your supervisor or another employee is placing their hand on you when communicating with you, as in the picture above, it is your best interest to tell them that it makes you feel uncomfortable. Unless in severe cases of sexual touching or harassing comments, an employee cannot be disciplined if they are engaging in minor offenses that make you feel uncomfortable when you have not told them that it makes you feel uncomfortable. If nothing else, please notify your supervisor and they can have a conversation with the employee. Regardless, ignorance is not an excuse for engaging in unprofessional behavior towards another employee. Please watch this video on how ignorance related to misconduct might not be the best excuse.
I'm going to get right to the point. It's come to my attention that you and the cleaning woman have engaged in sexual intercourse on the desk in your office. Is that correct? Who said that? She did. Was that wrong? Should I not have done that? I tell you, I gotta plead ignorance on this thing, because if anyone had said anything to me at all when I first started here, that sort of thing was frowned upon. You know, because I've worked in a lot of offices, and I tell you, people do that all the time. You're fired. Well, you didn't have to say it like that. I want you out of here by the end of the day.
Per school board policy, reporting misconduct is a requirement. Your responsibility as an employee is to report the information. It is understandable that some things may be hard to report because you work closely with the person who the allegations are against. However, your concern should always be for the student. By reporting the incident, you are not saying the person should be disciplined, even though in some cases you may think so. It is not your duty to determine whether the person should be disciplined or whether reporting the incident will make your working relationship uncomfortable. If reporting an allegation is making your working relationship uncomfortable, please report that to your administrator. Again, your primary concern is for the students enrolled in the district. Reporting misconduct towards a student is a requirement. If a student reports something to you and you believe the information to be untrue, you must report it anyway. This protection is as much for the employee's sake as for the student. If a student is making a false allegation, the district needs a record of the report and that the information was looked into. Reporting abuse and neglect. In accordance with Florida statutes, any person who knows or has reasonable cause to suspect that a child is abused, abandoned, or neglected by a parent, legal custodian, caregiver, or other person responsible for the child's welfare, or that the child is in need of supervision and care and has no parent, legal custodian, or responsible adult relative immediately known or available to provide supervision and care, shall report such knowledge or suspicion to the Department of Children and Families. It is a third-degree felony if a person has knowledge of abuse and fails to report it. So if a student reports to you that they have been injured, abandoned, or neglected as a result of the conduct of another employee, please make your supervisor aware and make sure DCF is contacted. You are also required to report any abuse, abandonment, or neglect that you suspect of a parent. Employees can report by calling or submitting the information on the DCF website. The abuse hotline is 1-800-96-ABUSE. School district employees are mandatory reporters and are required to report known or suspected abuse and neglect of the child to the Department of Children and Families. When you report, you will be asked to identify yourself, but the report will be kept confidential. When a child informs you that he or she is being harmed by an adult, or you notice signs of physical, mental, or sexual abuse or neglect, it is not your job to investigate the matter. You must take the allegations seriously, and the information must be reported to DCF. Your supervisor must also be made aware of the situation and can make the call for you, but you are the one who saw the incident and were told the information, so please make sure your supervisor makes the call. You are the adult. This was touched on previously in this presentation, but this is the most important thing that will keep you from receiving progressive discipline when dealing with students. You must remain the adult in the situation. Most employees that receive progressive discipline because of an interaction with a student is because they did not remain the adult. Students will have bad days and will push your buttons. You must remain professional and not let them get under your skin. If a student pushes you, that does not give you the right to push back. If a student hits you, it does not give you the right to hit them back. Call for assistance. However, this does not mean that you cannot defend yourself or others. Some situations are tougher than others. If you remain professional and do what you know is best, you will have a successful career in St. Lucie County. Thank you for listening to this presentation on ethics in education.